This is my beautiful Yamaha FZ-07, and today we're going to be talking about the past 3 years of experience I've had with this motorcycle. Was it reliable? Did I ever break down? Do I regret buying this motorcycle at all? Well, today we're going to get into all of that.
So I bought this bike as my second bike coming from a 300, and I gotta say it was a huge step up for me. Obviously, yes, there's more powerful bikes out there, but if you're coming from a smaller bike, this thing feels like a freaking rocket ship. The torque and just the short gears it has, it's so like peppy. You can power wheelie it in second. It just has a lot of torque, which makes for a really fun ride. So this bike has a parallel twin. I think it's 689cc. It has a 270-degree crank, which makes for a lot of low-end torque. You know, you get a lot of punch with this engine. Not to mention the transmission is also geared for a little bit more torque, and then you got sprockets and all that as well. So compared to something like a Ninja 650 and R7, it's gonna have shorter gears, which equate to less top end speed, but equals more torque. It's a very comfortable engine to ride. If you want to learn to stunt, a lot of people stunt these bikes out. You know, they're great for wheelies and all that because of that low down torque. But if we're talking about the street and all that, I found with my experience of riding all sorts of different bikes, naked bikes are just, they're meant for the street. They're built for the street. The low end torque, the power is super accessible, easy to get to. You know, you don't have to downshift 800 gears because you have an inline four and you got to wring the crap out of it to make any power. So that is a benefit. Like for example, fourth gear right now, it has so much torque to get up and go. So yeah, and that leads me into the ergonomics of this bike. Now, if you've sat on a naked bike, you've ridden a naked bike, you know they're so freaking comfortable. You got completely upright, barely any bend in the knees, you know, you're just chilling. I could ride like this for hours straight. I could ride like this all day if I needed to. Where on the other hand, if I had a super sport, you know, a 600, any fully fared sport bike that is not designed with comfortable ergonomics, you get tired pretty quickly. You know, you're bent over that tank, you're leaning over it, which equates to a lot of pressure on your wrist. You know, if you have bad form, your back hurts. I think your back hurts either way, but I just know my posture is terrible. But it's just not comfortable over time. I had a ZX6 for a couple of months, sold that one pretty quickly because that was just not a comfortable bike to ride all the time, and that's one of the more comfortable 600s out there as well. So that kind of does say a lot. Typical Yamaha things. You know what will start today though? The buy one get one free sale at Next Ride Apparel. Buy one tag, get one completely free, shipped straight to your door for $12.99. Don't miss the sale. But yeah, owning different bikes that had those more committed seating positions, whenever I wanted to go out on a long ride, I knew I'd be out for a long time, I found myself coming to this bike because it's just more comfortable. You know, that upright seating position, again, I've said it 800 times, the torque, accessible torque, it's not an inline four. There's just a lot of reasons why I absolutely love this platform.
So how reliable has this bike been the past 3 years of owning it? I've had absolutely zero issues. Not once has this bike left me stranded. Now, there was some maintenance stuff I done on it just because it is older. This exact one's a 2016 FZ-07 before they renamed it, did the new body styling and turned it into the MT07. Prior, it was known as the Yamaha FZ-07. So this is a 2016 Yamaha FZ-07. Yeah, it's getting a little old. So I did do a couple of maintenance things. I did end up replacing the fuel filter, fuel pump. Didn't need to be done, but I figured, you know, this is an old bike. It probably needs it, so why not do it? Fix the issue kind of before it could leave me stranded, even though I highly doubt it would have, but it was just kind of reinsurance that, you know, my fuel filter's not clogged. I'm not like running my bike super lean, anything crazy like that. So I replaced the fuel pump about this year again, just because I felt like it needed to be done. Now, on top of the fuel pump, I also did coils and plugs. Now, did it need it? I don't think so. I wasn't running into any issues, no misfires. I mean, it's only 2 cylinders. So I didn't really have any issues, but it's one of those things that, again, it's an old bike. This eventually will need to be done, so why not just do it before it actually causes issues? So I did replace the coils and plugs on it as well.
All right, now another side note to this bike is the fact that it does take 87, so filling it up is much cheaper than some of those other bikes like my ZX6 took premium. A lot of those other 600s and 1000s take premium, so the fact that you can just dump a tank of 87 in, super nice. $5, so not as cheap as one of my Groms would be, but it's definitely much cheaper than some of those other bikes out there. Not a huge deal, like you gotta put gas in it, and every tank you fill with the bike just is fantastic because you know you're gonna have a good time with that tank of gas. gas. So not a huge factor, but it is something nice about the parallel twins out there. Most of them take 87, which equals, you know, cheaper gas, and most of the time twins are going to be more fuel efficient because you're not moving 4 cylinders, you're not moving 3 cylinders, you're moving 2. So it is more fuel efficient in general as well. And another thing you can't forget about is going to be the sound of this bike. It's just so raspy. It's so aggressive. It's deep. You know, even my MT09, I love the sound of triples, don't get me wrong, but this bike just has such a great, beautiful sound, especially for being a twin. That 270-degree crank. So on the Ninja 650, the Ninja 400s, R3, a lot of those parallel twins, they don't have a 270-degree crank. It's flat planed or whatever you call it, and basically they sound like a lawnmower, like a big lawnmower, and not my favorite sound, I'll say that. So that is one really nice thing about any bike with the parallel twin that has a 270-degree crank. The sound you get out of it is just amazing. I absolutely love the sound this bike makes. Another thing worth mentioning with this bike too is just the power to weight balance. Now this bike is a fairly light bike. It's not going to be as light as a 400 or 300, but it is light, much lighter than my MT09, my ZX6, you know, all those other bikes you can buy out there. It being light just makes it, again, comfortable to ride because you don't have to worry about, especially if you're a smaller or shorter person like myself, you don't have to worry about, you know, dropping the bike, taking slow speed maneuvers while you're getting used to the bike. You know, you don't got to worry about that stuff because it is so much lighter. Unless you're really short, then good luck in general. But yeah, it's just the weight of this bike makes it what it is. It's so fun.
One of my favorite things about naked bike, minus, you know, obviously how comfortable it is, you know, the low down power, torque, all that good stuff, is they are so easy to work on. Accessing everything is super easy because, again, no full fairings. So to change the oil, you can reach the plug right down there, oil filter right down there. I don't have to take anything off to get to it, unscrew it. You can change your oil in a matter of minutes. So that is super nice. Like I said, I've had no really issues to where I've needed to rip this bike apart, but if you did need to, it's going to be 10 times, if not more, easier than dealing with full fairings.
Now, let's spend a minute talking about some of the downsides of this bike. Now, the first thing is going to be the upright seating position. Well, there is so many benefits which outweigh, you know, kind of the cons of it. There still is some cons to the seating position, which is the wind in your face. Yes, you get a little bit of wind in your face. For me, I basically rode this bike more than any other bike, and I gotta say, I just got used to the wind. It wasn't a big deal, but definitely more noticeable on the highway. One thing I see a lot of people crying about, which doesn't bother me at all, is going to be that top end speed. This bike tops out around 125, 130 miles an hour. A lot of you out there want to go faster than that. So if you're somebody who's, you know, kind of top speed crazy, this isn't going to be the bike for you at all. And mixed with just the way naked bikes handle going that fast, it feels a lot sketchier when you're going that fast. So you plan on going fast, plan on doing a lot of highway commuting, I wouldn't recommend this bike. At the end of the day, it's not really a big issue, just something to consider based on, you know, the type of riding you do. It could be a factor to whether or not you buy this bike.
So my overall experience on this bike was absolutely great. I was very happy with my purchase. Never once have I regretted it. The only time I thought about selling this bike was because I needed funds for different motorcycles I wanted to try. Other than that, I've kept this bike for the past 3 years, put a bunch of miles on it, had an absolute blast. The power this bike makes for the weight is so fun. And honestly, some people have issues with it not having a high top end speed, not making the most torque out there, but for a 600cc parallel twin, I think it does a great job. All right, so would I recommend buying one of these bikes? And you guessed it, absolutely yes. I say that about a lot of my bikes because I enjoy a lot of the bikes I ride. However, this specific bike, there's a lot of benefits to it. One being the price factor, you know, the weight of the bike, it not being super heavy makes for a good second bike, you know, where you're not overwhelmed with the switch of the weight of the bike. I've seen people drop their second bike because of how heavy it is. They're not used to the difference in weight. So that is a really nice thing. Another thing is going to be the cost. Again, $5 grand for this bike. It's an absolute beautiful bike. I've had no issues with it. Highly recommend it.